Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. While at ATX Fest, I got to talk to producers Peter Ocko and Dan Carey about their new AMC show, Lodge 49. We also chat about their previous work, the particular challenges that drew them to the series, and the importance of optimism in their stories. I hope you enjoy.
Hi.
So in doing research, I absolutely jumped up and down that you wrote for not necessarily the news.
Oh my gosh. I did not think you were going to say not necessarily the news.
So that's one of those shows that I bring up and no one knows what I'm talking about. And
Me too. Yeah.
And it's so on the cusp of like television I saw as a kid that I knew was above my pay grade for then and was watching going, just wait for Sniglets like the rest of America.
I haven't heard the word Sniglets in 30 years. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And also Parker Lewis, which I loved.
Glad to hear it.
I was part of the lucky cable group in America that lost Fox and MTV for a period of time there in the late 80s. Yeah. And so anything that came on Fox was just this thing we couldn't have as kids. And so Lodge 49, I've gotten to watch the first 5 episodes and really enjoyed it. Now that got done straight to series rather than pilot. Is that correct?
It did. Yeah.
And that's more like Star's model than what AMC's usually done.
It's hard to say. I think AMC is transitioning in that direction. They're much more likely now to sort of incubate an idea. They'll take a pilot script they like. They'll have a small room come together, work up what the show is, actually write a bunch of episodes to really kind of figure it out before they green light the first season. So it's a different way to do it, but it worked very well for this show.
It seemed like for this show, there's such a balance between unfolding the mystery of the Lodge versus unfolding the serendipitous aspects and unfolding the actual characters' problems in their daily lives. Did you find that was easier to do, breaking it in a writer's room like that, rather than trying to just write a pilot that would pitch it all?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. I don't know how this show would have been developed if we had just made a pilot, because Jim had a pilot script that was around for a long time, and we made some changes to it, but nothing drastic. The real show we figured out where it was and why it was a show moving forward, and I think had we not been able to play, and also I think if we had made a pilot on any network, and AMC is one of the best, and I think we would have been in great hands there had we just had a pilot, but in that situation, you're really in a position where people are going to look at the pilot and then say, well, this is what the show is. No, this is what the show is. And you'll course correct off of what your initial intuition was. And I think on this show, our initial intuition was this quiet sense of, like, there's a Knight Squire journey at the center of this that kind of plays underneath everything. And that's going to be something that we just want to tease out and not hit over the head. But that's kind of the framework for the series. And I don't think we would have been able to keep that if we'd just done a pilot. It would have been much more, I think, obvious.
Was there concern about cast chemistry since you didn't have a pilot to get to do like that?
To be honest, I would say, I don't know. I wasn't that worried because when we saw Wyatt, we just knew that was dud. I can't explain it any better than that. It wasn't like, oh, there's this short list and we saw a bunch of people. We saw Wyatt and just pursued it, and it just felt so right that we didn't question, like, well, that's who it is, obviously, and we just moved forward. And we were lucky enough that it worked out with him. And then so creating the world around him, I think, again, with Brent, we saw a lot of people for that role, and there was just something about his energy. He has this innate comic sense he's never trying, but you just find him fun to watch. And I think the two of them, we knew from auditions and just seeing them kind of together in a room that was going to be great. And then the same goes for Sonia and Liz. I mean, again, that was and she's a Brit, so we had zero, like, looking at the British casting tapes, we're like, we're never going to find Liz. Like, she's a Long Beach native. How is this ever going to work? But she did she did Liz, and we all went, oh my gosh. So it was one of those rare casting things where the characters just showed themselves, and then the chemistry worked out, and I tremendous luck involved, but it worked.
So how did you guys get involved in the project? What won it over for you?
You were first.
Yeah, I was first. So I have a company with Paul Giamatti. The script got sent to us several years ago, and we read a lot of things, but it just stood out immediately. So, we started talking with Jim. We love Jim. We love the script, and we worked to find a home for it.
Is that what y'all had done John Dies and Cold Souls through as well?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, both of those were just amazing films. And so when I saw Lodge 49 after watching a couple episodes, and I was going, I can't tell if this is about to just veer off severely weird or normalize some.
Good, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
And how did...
AMC approached me to come in and work on something, and they sent me a bunch of scripts, and Jim's was in the pile, and there was a lot of scripts that were obviously television shows, and his wasn't. And for the same reasons that Dan loved it, I finished it and I just wanted more of that world and those characters, but it also felt like in the best way, like a real challenge, because it's so lo-fi in its concept that to get that on the air felt like, let's do that, because if we get there, it will stand out because it's so lo-fi. And I think in this current environment with 1,000 shows just screaming for your attention, we're the one that's kind of off to the side smoking a cigarette going, you like us, great, but that's what I loved about it.
Yeah, I came away from watching a couple episodes immediately making a list in my head of the friends that I needed to go poke about this show. Like, are you still missing Terriers or John from Cincinnati or... these are all shows that I loved that didn't necessarily catch their audience, but I was like, and if you just want to watch these guys investigate a thing no one's asking them to investigate, bumming around Long Beach, and why it really does nail a particular balance of optimism, but you don't want to kill him.
It's not naive, it's not Candide, but he's so convincing that his is the right way to go that it does kind of infect you, and I think that's what's fun.
And so, are you still in the middle of filming this, or have you finished out?
We wrapped shooting. We shoot in Atlanta for about 3 months, and then we actually come out to Long Beach and do, I would say, at least 10% of every episode is actually shot in Long Beach. And so we finished our season in January there and did post, but we just finished editing all of 10, so we're done.
That optimism in the show, and that everything's wrong for him, and to a physical degree with a wound that won't heal. I love that optimism in the show, and it's something that I find myself looking for. I just recently had to review Secession, and I found that lately I just don't have the same appetite I used to have for watching rich people pass down things, and that I'm much more wanting to watch underdog shows right now, and because I can watch the news. And I love that about this show. What drew you to this project? What do you guys feel the through line is for the narratives that you want to put out there? What do you enjoy about storytelling?
Well, I'll just jump in and say, I remember when I read the pilot script, I got said two things. One was the pilot script, and the other was this 10-page document about sort of what Jim's idea of the rest of the show was. Okay. At that point, he'd done very little other than just sort of sketch it out and write this one script. And I read the pilot and just loved the world and loved the characters. And there were all these subtle hints of things. I'm like thinking, is this really what he's doing here? And then when I read the backup document, I'm like, oh, he actually is. He's like, he wants to take you into this whole other understanding of like what the world could be and where these characters can go. And the whole thing of like, the world's all around you and you don't see it kind of thing. And I think it's not, rich people passing down their things. It's like there's another way to live, that like Dud's optimism is, there are things around us we don't see, and live your life and find it in the everyday around you.
Yeah, that was a feeling I got from watching the episodes, was that everything's going wrong, but you can still be optimistic about the next thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, he just kind of has this unfailing, like, oh, that broke, what are we doing?
No, and I think it also encourages you to find meaning in things you might have ignored before. And as much as that can go kooky,
yes,
I think for us it's really hopeful. And I think especially these days when, the facts and to a certain degree the truth all seems sort of swirling around and you don't know what's up or down anymore. And I think for us to live in a world where the smallest things were a coincidence could actually mean that there is, some sense of order to it all, and that there is a path. And I think Doug really wants to find that path. I think for us, the fun is, and Jim and I have talked a lot about this, is there's a lot of stories where fate intervenes in a way that's going to help the hero get what they need or deserve. And I think for us, a comic universe suggests that it may be more for the enjoyment of the people watching the story than it is for the benefit of the person at the center. And I think that's where we love being in that sweet spot too, where something could be slightly magical, but it also could be absolutely explained, and it just sort of wavers back and forth. Because that's, I go through my life constantly wondering.
Yeah, I thought it was fun that they don't say that they're going to explain any mysteries to Dud. They're going to show him mysteries. No, you're not solving them. You're just going to reveal actual mysteries to me. Have you guys ever... I grew up with an Elks Lodge in my hometown. Did you guys ever grow up around any weird Grand Moose type stuff?
Seen them, driven past them, always wondered what was inside.
I've certainly spent a lot of time now in them, but still, never being allowed to see the mysteries in a way that feels satisfying, and I think that's...
Yeah, I'd never seen any of the rituals at one, but it was the only bar in a dry town that I grew up in, and so if your parents wanted a steak with a beer, you'd get taken to the Elks Lodge. So when he stops the lodge thing, and I went, oh god, just what this is. What are you hoping people take away from the show? What are you kind of hoping grabs them?
For me, I hope the connections between these characters grab them, and that it's a place they want to be. I mean, these days, in the practical sense, you just want people to come back. You want them to come to a place where they're like, I worked really hard today, and I want to go somewhere else. And I think there's something really lovely about this world, because it's not fantasy, but it's also not just, we're not dealing with addiction and murder. I mean, it's just a place that I think people will want to hang out.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm enjoying the show so far. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it when it airs.
Great. Well, thanks.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.